or maybe not quite. Maybe she was born.
Okay.
Anyway,
was she born back at? I mean, while you were back at the house then?
I don't remember whether she was born there or where, after because we didn't. Winston, I got back to plant. I got back there, and I don't remember how long after we moved back with her folks. I don't remember how long we stayed there. It wasn't too long, and then we rented out on Palmetto Avenue.
Palmetto Avenue.
Yeah.
Where you lived for the rest of the time until you sold it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we rented, you know.
At first.
Yeah. Yeah, we rented across the way there.
Oh, that's right. Where May and John lived first. Lived.
Yeah.
Rented that.
We rented there.
How did you find that? I mean, what led you to go there?
Just hunting around, you know, and.
Was that considered? I mean, not that it is now, but was that considered a good neighborhood?
Oh yeah. It was right on the edge.
There wasn't much of town left.
Oh,
I mean,
no.
that was out.
That was right on the edge.
That was really out.
Yeah.
There was just fields beyond there, and Brewster Pond.
Yeah.
And an old coal mill, actually, coal. There had been coal mines up there. At one point.
And Arlington Street
was narrow.
Went down to 2 lanes, you know, from there on out.
Actually, maybe not paved all the way.
It was paved, but it was 2 lanes, you know, and
because there was a bridge there where Brewster, whatever creek fed into Brewster Pond, it narrowed to the bridge, and it was so narrow that people would have accidents there. I remember the sound that we'd hear of accidents happening there where people couldn't really pass easily.
Also a low spot there in the road that would flood. A heavy rain, and it would flood.
Yeah.
And so that was out on the edge of town. So we rented there until.
And then moved across the street.
Yeah, and while we were there, was when I was out of work for 6 months, you know, because.
Yeah, I want to talk about that in a minute. I want to talk about that. About those circumstances, because I never heard it firsthand. I mean, we talked a little bit about it the last time, but I've never heard that story firsthand, and I really want to hear more about that. When did we move? When did you move across the street then?
Yeah.
How many years? About 3 or 4, 5, 6?
I'd say 4 or 5 years after we moved out on Palmetto, that Harry bought that home, and then he said, "Well, why don't you run over there?" And so we did. And then after we had been there for a couple of years or whatever, said, "Well, why don't we work it out so that you can buy it?" You know.
Right.
We use the money you paid as a down payment, you know, and.
Kind of like land contract.
Yeah, and so worked it out, you know.
Yeah, right.
So we took it over.
And then when did May and John move into the other house?
When we moved out, May and John moved in. So that was nice.
Yes.
Had May and John across the street there.
Yeah. What part had they played in your life before that? Were they at the house a lot and that sort of thing?
Well, yes. When after we got married, Harry and John and I and Kip, who lived at the house there, you know, he was a gentleman.
I remember it. And how did he get connected with all this? Kip was a roomer,
he was a roomer
at the
there.
house.
He came and he worked when Harry had the markets.
I see.
He worked in the markets, you know.
And they always just liked him, treated him like an uncle or something.
Yeah, he was just like one of the family.
Right. I remember that. A nice guy. I mean, I remember him as a gentle, warm person.
Yeah, he worked in the market there. And then...
and May and John were around.
And May and John lived very close, you know, right on Martha Avenue.
Oh, yeah.
Just off of Market.
Right.
They lived right there. So they were close.
They used to... John owned a printing company at one point, didn't he?
Yes.
Yes.
Later, I don't know, at that time, I think he was working for some printer.
I see.
And then later, he started a printing company on Market Street, there, very close, very near there. But John and Harry and I and Kip got to playing golf.
I see.
And we would go out on a Sunday, and we would play 18, maybe 30, maybe even 36 holes of golf.
So your wives were literally golf widows, they
Yeah.
call them, right? I mean, you guys would be gone all day Sunday playing golf.
We'd go out and play golf.
Uh-huh.
And no, we played a lot. Played a lot of golf.
So when you guys moved out of the house, May and John moved in across the street
Across
from
the
you.
street there. Yeah. Yeah. And
Tell me about your the time when you were ill and weren't working for a while at Goodyear. What happened, or how did that come about, or when did you know that?
I got up one morning and going to go into work, and I got dressed and went down and was eating breakfast, you know, and I suddenly just got just
Nauseated?
chilling, you know.
I see.
And just trembling, you know, and I just can't go into work, you know. And
how old would you be about at this point? Approximately.
Be about let's see, I was only about 25 or something.
So you're 25 years old. You were younger than Scott is, and
I was young.
and this would not, and you were playing golf and stuff. So this would really be out of context to what you usually experience.
Yeah. So anyway, I went back to bed, you know, and I was just shivering and so on, and I said, well, you got to go to the doctor, you know, and find out what in the world. And I was trying to think whether he came out or whether we went to him. Because in those days, doctors came out the house. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember whether we first went to I believe we went down to his office. Anyway, he checked me over, and he said, well, I'd like to have you go on over to, well, it was People's Hospital there, Akron General now.
Mm-hmm.
People's Hospital. He said, I'd like to see what the problem is with your heart, you know, because my heart was irregular. And so I went over there and went in the hospital that day, and I was there for a month.
Is that the first you knew you had an arrhythmic heart, or I mean, first it developed?
The first problem I had. Yeah.
When you were 25 years old?
Yeah. First I knew anything about it.
Huh. And you were in the hospital for a month?
I was there for a month. And in bed.
Yeah.
He wouldn't let me put my feet on the floor,
wow.
You know, because he thought, well, this is really.
Right.
He said that he thought I had he called it a focal infection somewhere. And he was trying to find out where in my body there was an infection. Thought it might be tonsils, because I did have bad tonsils.
Uh-huh.
When I was a kid at home, we had diphtheria.
I see.
The whole family. And
so it weakened your
yeah, and my
tonsils.
throat was bad, you know, from that. And so he tried giving me medications, you know, to take care of this infection, try to get that out. And then he gave me digitalis, which slows down your heart.
Right.
You know? And I remember one night there I was down in, didn't.
Okay, you were sleeping in the living room.
Yeah.
You weren't allowed to use the stairs.
Yeah, I wasn't supposed to go upstairs.
Right,
See?
and you were sleeping in the living room.
And I remember this one night, it was about 10 o'clock, I was supposed to take the digitalis again, and my heart was just, from one beat to the next, I didn't think it was going to make the next beat.
You couldn't tell when it was going to beat again.
And I told Viv, I said, Viv, I'm not going to take that digitalis, because it was so slow. So we got a hold of the doctor the next day, and it was slow. And right at that time, how was it? Something came up about me seeing a specialist, Harry, somebody that Harry knew, and talked about. So we told the doctor, you know, that we thought about going to a specialist. He said, well, on this I don't know what day of the week this was. He said, well, on Wednesday, there's a doctor coming down from Cleveland who is a heart specialist, and he said, I'd like to bring him around to the house just as a friendly call, you know, to have him look at you and see what he thinks, you know. So he did. He brought him in, and he checked me, and he said, well, don't take any more digitalis. He said, you have a digitalis tremor. And he